The first time Emily Carter received the call, she almost ignored it. It was 2:17 a.m. on a cold October night in Cedar Ridge, Oregon. Rain tapped gently against her apartment window while a soft yellow lamp glowed beside her bed. Emily, a 23-year-old college student, was a light sleeper. Her phone buzzing on the nightstand instantly pulled her from a dream she couldn't quite remember. She squinted at the screen. Unknown number. She frowned. Most spam calls came during the day, not the middle of the night. Half asleep and irritated, she rejected the call and rolled over. A few seconds later, her phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Emily groaned, grabbed her phone, and answered in a sleepy voice. Hello. There was silence. Then, faint breathing. Not heavy breathing, not rushed, just slow, steady breathing, like someone standing too close to the microphone. Hello, she repeated, sitting up slightly. The breathing stopped. The call disconnected. Emily stared at the screen, her heartbeat slightly faster now. She shrugged it off as a prank call and tossed the phone back on the table. But she couldn't fall asleep again. The next night, Emily stayed late at the campus library finishing an assignment. Around midnight, she returned to her apartment, made instant ramen, and watched a random sitcom episode before going to bed. She checked her phone. No missed calls. See, she whispered to herself. Just a prank. At exactly 2:17 a.m., her phone rang again. Her entire body stiffened. Unknown number. Emily hesitated. Her finger hovered above the screen before she slowly answered. Who is this? Silence. Then a whisper. Emily. Her blood ran cold. Yes, she asked cautiously. Another whisper followed, this time softer. Open the door. Emily's eyes widened. What? Who is this? The call ended again. Her heart pounded violently as she stared toward her apartment door across the room. The hallway light outside faintly shone through the gap beneath it. She listened carefully. Nothing. No footsteps. No knocking. Just silence. Emily laughed nervously. Someone is messing with me, she muttered, though her voice trembled. She forced herself back to sleep, convincing her mind it was just coincidence. The third night, Emily decided to test something. She turned her phone off before sleeping. Satisfied, she curled under her blanket and drifted into sleep. At 2:17 a.m., she woke suddenly. Not from sound, from the feeling that someone was watching her. Her room was dark except for faint streetlight shadows on the wall. Then, her phone screen lit up, even though it was powered off. Emily stared in disbelief as the screen glowed bright blue, displaying an incoming call. Unknown number. Her hands shook as she slowly reached toward it. The phone vibrated violently in her grip. She pressed accept. Hello, she whispered. This time, there was no breathing. Just a low, distorted voice. You didn't open the door. Emily gasped. Who are you? I waited. The call disconnected. Emily scrambled out of bed and checked her front door. The locks were secure. She even pushed a chair against it before returning to her room. That night, she didn't sleep. The next morning, Emily told her best friend, Sarah, about the calls while sitting in a campus cafe. Sarah laughed nervously. Girl, it's probably some creep who got your number. But how does he know my name? Emily asked. Sarah shrugged. Maybe social media. Emily wasn't convinced. Still, Sarah insisted she block the number and report it if it continued. Emily agreed. That night, she blocked the unknown number and tried distracting herself by watching horror movies ironically. At 2:17 a.m., her phone rang again. A new unknown number. Emily felt dread crawl through her chest as she stared at it. Against her better judgment, she answered. You can't block me, the voice whispered. Emily froze. Leave me alone, she shouted. You moved the chair, the voice said slowly. Her stomach dropped. Emily turned toward her front door. The chair she had placed earlier was now slightly tilted sideways. She knew she hadn't touched it. You're inside my apartment, she whispered, terrified. Silence. Then a faint chuckle. The call ended. Panic consumed her. Emily grabbed a kitchen knife and checked every room, every closet, even under her bed. Nothing. The apartment was empty, or at least, it seemed that way. The calls continued every night at 2:17 a.m. Each time, the voice revealed something new. Things only someone inside her apartment would know. You left your bathroom light on. You forgot to lock your window. You cry when you think nobody hears you. Emily's mental state began collapsing. She stopped sleeping. Dark circles formed under her eyes. She constantly checked her apartment locks. Finally, she contacted the police. 2 officers searched her apartment thoroughly. No forced entry, no hidden cameras, no intruders. Probably a stalker messing with you, one officer said. Change your number. Emily followed their advice immediately. For one night, there was peace. She almost believed it was over. At 2:17 a.m. the following night, Emily woke to a familiar vibration. Her new phone number was receiving a call. From no caller ID. Her hands trembled violently as she answered. How did you get this number? She whispered. A long pause followed. Then the voice spoke again. You never changed your home. Emily felt her chest tighten. What does that mean? You live where she lived. Emily's breathing stopped. Who? She asked. The line went silent. Determined to understand, Emily researched her apartment's history online. The building was over 40 years old, but one article caught her attention. College student found dead in Cedar Ridge apartment 1998. Emily's fingers trembled as she opened it. The victim's name was Lena Holloway, a 21-year-old student who mysteriously died in her apartment after repeatedly reporting receiving disturbing phone calls from an unknown number. Her body was discovered inside her locked apartment. No signs of forced entry. Cause of death? Unknown. Emily felt her vision blur. She quickly checked the apartment number mentioned in the article. It matched hers. That night, Emily packed her bags, determined to leave. At exactly 2:17 a.m., her phone rang again. She ignored it. It rang again, and again. Finally, she answered, tears streaming down her face. What do you want from me? The voice sounded closer than ever before. I waited for her too. Emily froze. You killed her, she whispered. No. Silence filled the line before the voice continued. She didn't open the door either. Emily's heartbeat thundered in her ears. Where are you? She asked. A slow, chilling whisper followed. Behind you. Emily's entire body locked with terror. She turned slowly. Her bedroom door was slightly open. She knew she had closed it earlier. The hallway beyond was pitch dark. Then, she saw it. A shadow standing in the hallway. Too tall, too still. Watching her, Emily screamed and ran toward the front door, desperately unlocking it with shaking hands. She burst outside into the rain, running barefoot across the parking lot. Behind her, she heard something faint. Her phone ringing again. She stopped and looked down at it. Still connected. You left, the voice whispered sadly. Emily threw the phone onto the ground and ran without looking back. Police later searched the apartment again. They found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No evidence of anyone inside. Emily moved to another city and tried rebuilding her life. Months passed without incident. Slowly, she convinced herself it was over. Until one night, she was lying in her new apartment in Seattle when her bedside clock blinked 2:17 a.m. Her new phone lit up instantly. No caller ID. Emily stared at it, paralyzed by fear. The phone stopped ringing. Relief washed over her. Then her apartment intercom buzzed. She froze. A distorted voice crackled through the speaker. Emily, open the door. Her breath hitched as she stared at her apartment entrance. The doorknob began to turn slowly, by itself. The intercom crackled one last time. I found your new home. The lights in her apartment suddenly went out. And Emily Carter was never seen again. Rain hammered against the streets of Seattle as police officers forced open Emily Carter's apartment door. The lights were off. The living room was empty. Her phone lay on the floor near the entrance, its screen cracked but still faintly glowing. Apartment is clear, one officer shouted. They searched every room, every closet, every corner. Emily was gone. There were no signs of struggle. No broken furniture. No blood. Nothing to explain how a woman could simply disappear from a locked apartment. The only strange thing they found was her phone. Still on an active call. One of the officers carefully picked it up and placed it against his ear. Hello, he said. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then a whisper replied, wrong person. The phone screen suddenly went black, and the call disconnected. 3 days later, Emily's disappearance became national news. Missing posters flooded social media. News channels labeled her case as mysterious and disturbing. Her best friend Sarah refused to believe Emily was gone forever. She would never disappear like that, Sarah told detectives. Something took her. When police showed Sarah Emily's phone, she noticed something unusual in the call log. Every night at 2:17 a.m., there were incoming calls. From numbers that didn't exist. Some had only static symbols. Some displayed blank caller IDs. Some simply showed the word, waiting. Sarah felt chills crawl across her skin. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah visited Emily's abandoned apartment building in Cedar Ridge, Oregon, the place where everything began. The building manager, an old man named Harold, reluctantly allowed her inside. "You're the third person asking about that room," he muttered. Sarah froze. "Third," Harold nodded slowly. "The girl in 1998, your friend, and now you." Sarah swallowed nervously. What happened here? Harold sighed deeply and leaned against the reception desk. "Before the building was renovated, there used to be a house here," he said quietly. "In the 1970s, a man lived there. Name was Daniel Rowe." Sarah listened carefully as thunder echoed outside. "He was a phone technician. Worked night shifts repairing telephone lines," Harold continued. "Neighbors said he was strange. Always talking to himself. Always recording phone calls." "What happened to him?" Sarah asked. Harold hesitated. "One night, a fire destroyed his house. They found his body inside, burned beyond recognition." Sarah's stomach twisted. "But here's the strange part," Harold whispered. "The fire department reported hearing a phone ringing continuously inside the burning house." That night, Sarah checked into a motel near the old apartment building. She couldn't stop thinking about Daniel Rowe. She searched online archives for more information. After hours of digging, she discovered an old police report. Daniel Rowe had been obsessed with recording voices. He believed people's souls could travel through phone lines. According to neighbors, he often claimed, "Calls connect worlds, not just people." Sarah felt a wave of unease wash over her. Suddenly, her motel room phone rang. She jumped violently, staring at it. The digital clock beside her bed read 2:17 a.m. Her breathing became shallow. The phone rang again, and again. With trembling hands, Sarah slowly picked it up. "Hello." Static filled the line, then a whisper. "You came back." Sarah's blood turned ice cold. "Who is this?" she demanded. "You're looking for her." Sarah's voice shook. "Emily. Where is she?" A long pause followed. Then the voice replied softly. "She's still waiting." "Waiting where?" Sarah shouted. Silence. Then faintly, she heard another voice behind the whisper. A girl's voice, crying, "Sarah, don't open." The call abruptly cut off. Sarah dropped the receiver, shaking violently. That was Emily's voice. The next morning, Sarah returned to the old apartment building determined to enter Emily's former unit. Harold refused at first, but Sarah convinced him she just needed closure. Reluctantly, he handed her the spare key. The apartment smelled empty and lifeless. Dust covered the windows. The air felt colder than the hallway outside. Sarah slowly stepped inside. Her heart pounded as she reached Emily's bedroom. The room was completely empty except for faint scratch marks on the wall beside the bed. Sarah moved closer. The scratches formed strange symbols. They looked like numbers. 217, 217, 217, repeated dozens of times. Suddenly, Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. Her entire body froze. She pulled it out slowly. Unknown number. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. She answered. "You found the door," the whisper said. "What door?" Sarah asked nervously. The bedroom closet door creaked open by itself. Sarah gasped. Inside, the closet was pitch black, deeper than it should have been. The darkness looked almost solid, like a shadow swallowing the space. "Emily is inside," the voice whispered. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. "Emily, can you hear me?" she called into the darkness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then faintly, she heard breathing. And quiet sobbing. "Sarah, help me." Sarah stepped closer, reaching her hand into the closet. The air inside felt freezing cold. Suddenly, something grabbed her wrist. Hard. She screamed as invisible fingers tightened around her arm, pulling her toward the darkness. Her phone fell to the floor but the call remained active. "You opened the door," the whisper said calmly. Sarah struggled desperately, clawing at the closet frame. "Let me go," she screamed. The grip tightened. Then suddenly, the apartment lights flickered violently. The closet door slammed shut by itself. Sarah collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. Her wrist was covered in deep red finger marks. Her phone lay beside her. "Still connected." "Not yet," the voice said. The call disconnected. Terrified and shaken, Sarah ran out of the apartment and never returned. But she couldn't forget Emily's voice. Weeks later, Sarah visited a paranormal investigator named Marcus Hale, known for investigating unexplained disappearances. After hearing Sarah's story, Marcus nodded seriously. "I've heard about this case," he said. "If what you're describing is real, this isn't a person stalking victims." "Then what is it?" Sarah whispered. Marcus leaned forward. "A gateway," he said. "Something using communication devices to trap people between realities." Sarah felt her chest tighten. "Can Emily still be alive?" she asked quietly. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "being trapped is worse than being dead." Sarah felt tears roll down her cheeks. Suddenly, Marcus's office phone began ringing. Both of them froze. Marcus looked at the clock. 2:17 a.m. They stared at each other silently as the phone continued ringing. Marcus slowly picked it up and pressed speaker mode. "Hello." Static filled the room. Then two voices spoke at the same time. One whispered calmly, "You keep searching." The second voice screamed desperately, "Help me please." Sarah collapsed into tears as she recognized Emily's voice again. Marcus quickly grabbed recording equipment. "Emily, tell us where you are," he shouted. The static grew louder. Then the whisper spoke again. "She's learning to stay." The line suddenly emitted a deafening screech before going dead. Marcus stared at Sarah with horror in his eyes. "This thing," he said quietly, "is getting stronger." That night, Sarah returned home, exhausted and terrified. She tried convincing herself to stop investigating, to move on. But deep inside, she knew she couldn't abandon Emily. As she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her phone lit up suddenly. The clock beside her blinked. 2:17 a.m. unknown number. Tears streamed down her face as she answered. "Emily?" she whispered. Silence filled the line. Then slowly, the whisper returned. "You're next." Sarah's heart stopped. Her bedroom closet door creaked open behind her. Cold air flooded the room. And from the darkness, she heard two voices whisper together. "Open the door." Sarah's body froze as her bedroom closet door slowly creaked open. A cold wind rushed into the room, carrying a faint smell of burning wires and smoke. The darkness inside the closet didn't look normal. It looked deeper, endless, like a hole carved into reality itself. Her phone trembled violently in her hand as two voices whispered through the speaker. One calm, one desperate. "Open the door, Sarah. Don't." Tears streamed down her face as she slowly turned toward the closet. "Emily," she whispered. A faint sob echoed from the darkness. "I'm here," Emily's voice replied weakly. Sarah's heart shattered hearing her best friend's voice. She slowly stepped toward the closet, her legs shaking with fear. "Hold on, Emily. I'm going to pull you out," Sarah said, reaching forward. Her fingers touched the darkness. Instantly, her hand felt like it was sinking into freezing water. The cold spread through her veins, crawling up her arm. Then suddenly, a hand shot out from the darkness and grabbed her wrist. Sarah screamed. "Don't," Emily's voice shouted, but it was too late. The grip tightened and began pulling Sarah forward. She clawed desperately at the closet frame, her nails scraping the wood as she struggled to hold herself back. "Let her go," Sarah screamed into the darkness. For a moment, the pulling stopped. Then the calm whisper spoke again. She opened the door. "She belongs here now." The darkness inside the closet began expanding, stretching outward like living shadows crawling across her bedroom walls. Sarah felt herself sliding closer to the void. "Emily, help me," she cried. Suddenly, another hand grabbed Sarah's arm. Warm, familiar. Emily's voice screamed from inside the darkness. "Run!" With a violent jerk, Sarah was thrown backward onto her bedroom floor. The closet door slammed shut instantly. The room fell silent. Sarah lay there gasping, tears streaming down her face. "Emily," she whispered, but there was no answer. The next morning, Sarah rushed to Marcus Hale's office, panic written across her face. She showed him the red bruises covering her wrist. Marcus examined them carefully. "These are grip marks," he said quietly. "But there are two different sizes." Sarah's breathing stopped. "One was pulling you in, and the other was pulling you out," Marcus continued. "Emily saved me," Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. Marcus nodded slowly. "She's fighting it. Can we save her?" Sarah asked desperately. Marcus hesitated before answering. "There might be one way." Marcus explained that the entity seemed connected to phone signals and specific time patterns. Every disappearance happened at 2:17 a.m., the exact time Daniel Rowe reportedly died in the fire decades ago. If his obsession with calls trapped him between realities, Marcus explained, then the connection point might still exist. "Where?" Sarah asked. Marcus pulled out old property records. "The original house fire location," he said. "The apartment building was built directly on top of it." Sarah felt dread sink into her stomach. "We have to go back," she said. That night, Sarah and Marcus entered Emily's old apartment one last time. Marcus carried recording devices, EMF detectors, and an old analog landline phone he had modified. "If we can contact it directly," Marcus said, "we might be able to open the gateway and pull Emily back." The apartment felt colder than ever before. The air felt heavy, like something was watching them. They placed the landline phone in the center of Emily's bedroom floor. The clock ticked slowly. 2:16 a.m. Sarah's heart pounded violently. Marcus dialed a number he had reconstructed from old phone records linked to Daniel Rowe. They waited. 2:17 a.m. The landline phone suddenly rang loudly. The entire apartment lights flickered violently. Marcus pressed speaker mode. Static roared through the room. Then the whisper returned. "You came back." Marcus spoke firmly. "Release the girl." Silence. Then multiple faint voices echoed through the static. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Crying, whispering, begging. Sarah collapsed to her knees, covering her ears. "Emily," she shouted through tears. "I'm here. Fight it." For a moment, the static grew louder, like a storm building inside the phone. Then Emily's voice screamed, "Sarah, run. It's opening." The bedroom closet burst open violently. Darkness exploded outward, spreading across the walls and ceiling like black smoke. The temperature dropped instantly, freezing their breath in the air. Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm. "This is the gateway." From inside the darkness, shadowy figures moved, stretching, twisting, trapped between shapes of people and smoke. Sarah saw one figure step forward. It was Emily, but she looked pale, fading, like she was barely holding herself together. "Take my hand," Sarah cried, rushing toward her. Marcus grabbed her shoulder. "If you pull her out, something might come with her." "I don't care," Sarah screamed. She grabbed Emily's hand. The moment their fingers touched, the entire apartment shook violently. The whisper turned into a furious roar. "She belongs to us." Shadow arms burst from the darkness, grabbing Emily's legs and pulling her backward. Sarah held tighter, screaming with all her strength. "Let her go." Marcus quickly smashed the modified phone against the floor, breaking the signal connection. The landline exploded into sparks. The darkness shrieked violently as cracks of light spread across it like shattered glass. With one final scream, Sarah pulled Emily forward. Both girls crashed onto the bedroom floor as the closet slammed shut. The apartment returned to complete silence. Minutes passed before either of them moved. Emily lay unconscious but breathing. Sarah sobbed with relief, hugging her tightly. Marcus stared at the closed closet door, his face pale. "It's over," Sarah whispered. Marcus didn't answer. He slowly looked at the digital clock on the wall. 2:18 a.m. Emily recovered slowly over the following weeks. She remembered fragments of being trapped in endless darkness filled with lost voices. Doctors couldn't explain her condition, but physically she was unharmed. Sarah stayed beside her constantly, refusing to leave her alone. Life slowly returned to normal. Or at least, it seemed that way. 3 months later, Marcus sat alone in his office, reviewing recordings from that night. Most of the audio was static. Except one final clip. He played it carefully. At first, it sounded empty. Then, faintly, he heard whispering. She took one back. Marcus's face turned pale. The whisper continued. so we took another. The recording ended with faint crying in the background. A voice Marcus didn't recognize. A young boy's voice. Begging for help. Marcus slowly looked at the clock on his office wall. 2:17 a.m. His office phone rang. He stared at it, frozen in terror. The ringing continued, and continued, and continued. Finally, with trembling hands, Marcus answered. "Hello." The whisper returned one last time. "The line is still open." The lights in his office went out.